Dark teen dramas were all the rage in the late 90s. Cruel Intentions fit that mold, subverting the bubbly teen movie genre and taking its characters into twisted new territory. While the movie was popular and certainly made its mark at the time of release, it hasn't exactly aged well. A hack therapist. When we first meet Sebastian, he's finishing up a session with his therapist, and it's pretty clear that she's not good at her job. She's constantly checking the clock, tuning him out, and even shilling her book to him. She shares details about her own life and gets a little too personal for the typical patient-psychiatrist relationship. None of this is news to Sebastian, of course, but the fact that she so eagerly pierces the veil of professionalism means she must not have paid much attention to the ethics portion of her training. Anyone who's been to a therapy session or even just seen one on TV knows this is not how a shrink is supposed to behave.
Schmuck.
A botched manifesto. When Sebastian sets his sights on Annette Hargrove as his next target of seduction, it's because she's written an op-ed in an issue of 17 magazine about why she plans to wait to have sex until marriage, and he sees her as a real challenge. Interestingly, the cover shown is from the real February 1997 issue featuring Jennifer Love Hewitt, and that choice may be an intentional Easter egg, since that was the same year Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar starred with Hewitt in I Know What You Did Last Summer. If you press pause on the film when they show Annette's article, there are only a few lines that are actual writing, and the bulk of the piece is nonsensical type smash. So all of those lines that Sebastian so disdainfully reads off from Annette's piece are completely fabricated and don't even appear on the page. An onslaught of slurs. One aspect of Cruel Intentions that is particularly unsettling in the modern lens is its constant and casual use of LGBTQ slurs. The way characters refer to homosexuality is cringeworthy upon review. For example, Catherine mockingly questions Sebastian's sexuality just because he keeps a journal. Then, when Sebastian meets Annette and discusses her manifesto, he says,
"Are you a lesbian?"
No?
I didn't mean to offend you, I just picked up on a little bit of that lesbian vibe.
Later in the film, Sebastian shames a boy who he catches in bed with another boy. The whole movie is littered with moments that are incredibly insensitive to the gay and lesbian community, with little purpose to the lines other than to offend. A casual racist. Cruel Intentions can also rightly be criticised for its lack of cast diversity, as both the central cast and most of the supporting players are white. The one exception is the character Ronald, who's made to suffer the ignorance of Mrs. Caldwell. After she discovers that Ronald and Cecile have a budding romantic relationship, she confronts him and claims that she got him off the streets. Once he corrects her about his status, she snipes back with,
"Oh, don't give me any of that racist crap. My husband and I gave money to Colin Powell."
The exchange actually serves to explain Mrs. Caldwell's biases in a way that is relevant to the plot, but even so, hearing her all-too-realistic racist remarks is still incredibly uncomfortable. An outright assault. Perhaps the most harmful point in Cruel Intentions comes when Catherine and Sebastian scheme to damage Cecile's reputation at her new school. They decide that in order to encourage her relationship with Ronald, Sebastian should seduce her and introduce her to sex. As awful as the plot is, the execution is even more deplorable. Sebastian invites Cecile over under the guise of helping her draft a love letter to Ronald and proceeds to give her an alcoholic drink without her knowing.
Ugh, this sure doesn't taste like an iced tea.
It's from Long Island.
After that, he threatens to expose her for sneaking out to her mother and then forces himself upon her. The next day, when she confides in Catherine that she feels taken advantage of, Cecile is told she should be happy about what happened and seek out more encounters with Sebastian. In other words, Cecile not only endures sexual assault, but she is also then coerced into returning to her attacker's arms. A quickfire courtship. The progression of Annette and Sebastian's romantic relationship is dizzyingly fast, to the point that it's hard to believe they are able to develop the deep, meaningful bond that supposedly unfolds. They go from barely friends to forever in no time at all, when there is barely any substance to their connection. Mature audiences might have a harder time believing that a young woman who stayed abstinent throughout a year-long relationship and wrote a national magazine article about that decision would change her mind so quickly, especially since it's confirmed in the film's dialogue that everything takes place over the course of just a few days.